Hello everybody, welcome back. This should be the third installment of this series. What we got here, these are the tips, because we unlocked a new tip last time. And Deary's playing in the background. We're gonna go ahead and read this. The Notebook's beginning. June 1982. Satoshi Hojo disappeared several days after the Watanagashi festival. There were three possible reasons for his disappearance. One possibility is that it was an accident. Dead bodies sometimes end up in irrigation channels a few months after hit-and-run incidents. But since the police did a thorough search of the area and hadn't found his body, this possibility seems small. The second possibility is a self-motivated disappearance. Satoshi-kun has been living in dire circumstances. His close friends actually heard him imply he might run away. The police thought he skipped town after killing his aunt. That seemed plausible considering that aspect, but the police arrested another person for the murder, so this hypothesis must also be considered false. Who did they arrest for that? I don't remember that part. The last possibility is that he was involved in a series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa. It's also called the Curse of Oyashiro-sama. He fell victim to it and disappeared. Unless Oyashiro-sama's occult power is actually verified, this curse must be the act of humans. It's only natural to assume that Satoshi-kun was made to disappear by someone's will. So the question is, whose? The possibilities are quite limited. The culprit is either a member of the Sonozaki family, a member of the three families, or one of their many relatives. The police can assume that easily. I need to think beyond that. Oh, we're looking... Oh, this is probably Oishi that we're... Who did it? How did it happen? And why did it have to be done? Why did Satoshi-kun fall victim? What was the motive? Who gave out the order? Who actually did it? The mastermind, the culprit, and the truth. All are in reach of my grasp. Maybe I'll find them right behind my back. But even so, I can't reach everywhere. There are parts of my back I have to make an effort to reach, clenching my teeth and cracking my joints so that the tips of my fingers can barely touch them. The truth is hidden in places like those. I'm writing this because I need to organize my thoughts and memories. Nobody will read it other than myself, but if somebody does, that means that either I threw these notes away because I no longer needed them, or I fell victim to the curse of Oyashiro-sama in the middle of my attempt to solve the mystery. If it was the former, that's okay, but if it was the latter, please, I want you to help me. Please help this... Oh. Young girl. Please help this powerless young girl. That's... Ooh. So who is it then? So many thoughts. It could be Shion. That would make sense. But it also seems too on the nose. It could be Rika. But at the same time, she wouldn't really be that worried about falling victim. She's done it several times. I don't know. My bet's on Shion though, seeing as she's the main character of this time. Alright, let's go ahead and continue. (1982). It's a good year, good year. The fourth year of the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa, also known as Oyashiro-sama's curse, 1 year prior. Oh, 1 year prior to Keiichi Maibara's transfer. So this is a year before the show starts. I didn't hear a wake-up chime. I'm not in school anymore. My brain is half asleep, but I'm aware of that. Waking up at the same time as the chime would go off at school doesn't feel good. I can't go back to sleep after this. Still, I'm not going to live a torturous school life anymore. I can make today either happy or boring. That's up to me. Yay! It's really positive. I feel like I'm alive for the first time in a while. I didn't have any other clothes, so I was still wearing the school track uniform. Who is this? It's supposed to have been designed by some famous Italian person, but it just looks plain to me. It really doesn't feel great to still be in clothes from that school. I want to enjoy my freedom as soon as possible. I especially don't want to walk around outside wearing it. I should have Kasai bring me some new clothes later. Kasai, huh? And I should think of redecorating this room. After all, this is gonna be my castle from now on. Is this still Shion? This is a room in a gorgeous apartment building in the suburbs of Okinomiya. The property is one a realtor and my dad's conglomerate obtained after foreclosure due to some sort of dispute. This definitely has to be her. Most of the residents moved out during that. So while there are plenty of rooms, it's a lonely complex that feels devoid of people. Plus, with the exception of the manager and a scant one or two others, all the residents are shady-looking people connected to my dad. Probably won't be much longer before the virtuous residents are driven out. It's sad. The apartment I'm living in used to be the room they'd used for viewings, so it looks like a room in a business hotel. It's fully furnished, but lacking in daily necessities. I'll buy those things over time, though.
むしろその方がいいよね。
Yep.
自分の部屋っていう実感が湧くし。
I nodded to myself. Might look stupid, but it helps psych me up. At the school there was a TV only in the common room and we weren't allowed to watch any cable channels. I zapped through all those channels as a form of emancipation. It was early in the morning, so nothing interesting was on. But I enjoyed it anyway. Commercials are fun to watch. Are they now? Guess I dropped by with lunch right when I started to feel hungry.
Shion-san, おはようございます。ゆうべはよく眠れましたか？
ソファーに毛布でゴロ寝は結構辛いです。
So she was only at either I was correct last time in saying that she was there for several years, and she busted out a year before the events of the show, which I guess could make sense in my head, or this is a flashback and she was only at the school for a year. I don't know.
やっぱ日本人はちゃんと布団敷いて床に寝ないとね。
I mean, same, kind of.
たくあんが美味しい。
Pickled radish? That actually does sound kind of good.
それはよかった。後で必要なものを教えてください。可能な限り揃えるようにします。
ありがとう。あ、でもそんなに気を使わないでいいです。私の好きで始めた生活だし。葛西だってたかられたらお財布持たないでしょ。
You can extort me if you want. I have to be serious about my plan. I can't let myself take advantage of Kasai's wallet forever.
バイトでもしようと思います。生活費くらいは自分で稼がないとね。
What a responsible
私が
young
選んだ
lady.
生活なんだから自分で何とかするのは当然。
それはたくましい限りです。
Ah, where does it all go wrong?
でもいいんですか？外を歩けばやがては親族の誰かに見つかりますよ。
Okay, so she did break out a year before the events of the show. That's something I didn't know either. Huh, interesting.
そこは少しは考えてある。そこでミオンの力がいるわけよ。葛西さ、本家に電話してもらっていい？ミオンが出たら受話器代わって。
やれやれ、何を企んでるやら。
やれだぜ。
どういう作戦ですか？
Kasai dialed the number. It's funny to me that we're calling the main house, even though that's the place I most want to avoid at the moment. A little bit ironic.
もしもし。
Mashi mashi!
おはようございます。
Mion answered the phone immediately. Is it just her and her grandma there? I thought there were other people there.
ミオンさんですか？
Mion-san desu ka?
ご無沙汰しています。葛西です。ええ。おはようございます。少しお待ちいただけますか？今受話器を代わります。
I take the handset.
もしもし。
Ooh, the music's stopping.
私が誰だかわかります？
Oh my god.
その声は。でもそんなはずは。シオンの寮は使用電話禁止だったはず。そんなはずはない。
Aw, Mion, she's so cute. Oh my god.
学園では外部との電話は禁止だからね。それが電話してきたってことは。
It's a mystery.
血の巡りの悪いお姉でも意味がわかるでしょ？
Dim-witted.
あんた学園抜け出したの？
Keep your voice down.
どうやって？
そんなことはどうでもいい。会いたかったですよ。お姉。
Oh, nah.
シオン。
Aww. That was as far as I could take it. Mion had hit her limit too. Wholesome. Totally wholesome. Oh my god, that laugh! Jesus, Mion, chill. We both burst into laughter, unable to keep up our act. It's been a while since we laughed out loud with each other like this.
久しぶりだよ、シオン。あんた本当にどうしたの？
どうしたもこうしたも。別に私は嘘吐いてないですって。
じゃあ
Wait.
本当に脱走したの？やる。
私を閉じ込めておくにはちょっと警備が甘かったかもね。
学園はシオンが穏便に脱走したことに感謝するべきかもね。本気のシオンだったら全施設を爆破してから脱走するくらい朝飯前かも。
Yes, terrorism.
爆破はできないけど放火くらいはやるかもね。
I might have set it on fire. Oh my god. Kazai smiled at us in amazement, his face a blend of amusement and exacerbation. Exasperation. Exacerbation? He is the old, like, man dad figure in this. He's probably just fed up, like, dealing with two teenage girls.
おね、今は電話大丈夫なの？
大丈夫。
大丈夫。
バッチャはお稽古に行っちゃってる。今日は帰りは夕方になるって言ってた。
それは好都合。近いうちに会って話をしましょう。とりあえず今日のところは電話で。
Wait, so whoa, wait. So this is a year before the show starts. I'm okay. I'm letting it like process in my mind. So Satoshi is still in Hinamizawa then. Okay, I should have gotten that from the. This is the 4th year of the tragedy or whatever happening. Because when Keiichi shows up, it's the 5th year. Interesting.
本家に学園から私が脱走したっていう連絡は来てます？
にゃ、来てない。
にゃ。Whoops.
本家の電話も来客も全部私が通すから、私を素通りしてバッチャに連絡行くことはない。
What? You're the family fucking receptionist?
だから来てないって断言できると思う。
ほう、そりゃすごい。さすが園崎本家次期当主。
私はそんなの嫌だよ。シオンが変わってよ。
鬼がついてるのはお姉でしょ。まあせいぜい頑張ってください。
Interesting.
陰ながら応援いたしております。まあそんなことはどうでもいいや。
すごい人事っぽい言い方だな。まあいいや。
Does she?
私関連で何か動きがあったら葛西に連絡をよろです。ここの番号はお姉には教えてもいいかなと思うけど、ごめん。
そうだね。学園脱走したって話がバッチャ。連絡の件は了解。何か動きがあったら葛西さんに伝えとく。
ありがとうです。それとあとお姉にお願いがあるんだけど。
Ooh.
そう来ると思っ
I
た。
figured you would.
あ、お金は無理だよ。
Money.
さすがにお金を無心できるとは思ってます。お姉にはちょっと私のバイトのお手伝いをお願いしたいんです。
Part-time job.
なるほどね。
なるほどね。
そういうことか。で、具体的にはどうするの？
どうするの? We can communicate fast in a situation like this. We don't have to get into details because we know what's on each other's
吉郎お
minds.
じさん、私の味方だったじゃないですか。吉郎おじさんの持ってるお店のどれかでバイトできないか打
That
診
would
して
be
みま
nice
す。
having like a family member own a business that you can just fucking go in and be like, hey, I need a job, and they'd be like turn to one of the current employees and be like, get the fuck out. We need an opening for my niece. That'd be pretty nice.
で、シフトが決まったらお姉に連絡しますから。
あんたがバイトしてる時間帯には消えてりゃいいわけだね。めんどくさい役だな。
何ですかお姉。双子の妹の頼みを断る？本
Nice.
当に？
いいよいいよ、引き受けるよ。
本当に?
あんたの頼みは断ると後が嫌だ。
God.
サンキューです。
Thank you.
今度シュランクベルトのケーキでもおごるから。
Say that again? Schlank?
可愛いタルト山ほど食べさせてあげますから。
あ、シオン、シュランクベルタね。去年の秋に。
Oh, that sucks. Bro, the nostalgia smashed into her face just then, I bet. Man, she's getting old.
Eh?
Eh?
あ、そうなんだ。
Fuck, bro.
うん。マスターが脳梗塞で倒れ
Yo! That's not cool! That's
退
even
院してから
worse!
一度は店を開けたんだけど、やっぱり体が持たないらしくてさ、惜しまれたけど閉店しちゃったわけ。
Yo, that's... Well, Japan's got an aging population. That's bound to happen.
そっか。そりゃあ残念です。欲張りモンブランをお腹いっぱい食べる夢は、もう夢のままで終わっちゃったんですね。
Yeah, it's a lot more serious than she makes it seem. That's sad, man. I bet she's sad. I was disappointed that my favorite cake shop had closed down, but more so that this town had changed without my knowing while I was gone. It was kind of regrettable. Oh yeah, definitely.
他にも変わったこと、私の知らないことある？
Ooh, here we go.
うん。いくつかある。今度会ったら全部話すね。
ありがとう。私も学園で見てきたこと、近いうちに機会を設けましょう。追ってこっちから連絡します。
うん。わかった。
ミオン？
何？
元気でやってる？
should have started with this.
もちろん。
ならよかった。切るよ。
うん。じゃあね。
Janet. It's really been a while since I last talked to her. Put down the phone and heaved a sigh as Kasai brought in some
結
tea.
局どういう話になったんですか？
He is just like on point with the like timing of this
吉郎お
shit.
じさん、私のことを可愛がっててくれたじゃない？おじさんにね、私が学園を抜け出してきたのを打ち明けで、おじさんの持ってるお店のどれかでささやかに働かせてもらえたらなって。
人目に触れますよ。吉郎さんはいいとしても、他の親類に見つかるかもしれないじゃないですか。
Yeah, one night out with the boys. You get super wasted and then suddenly everybody knows.
そのためのお姉ってわけよ。私が働く時間が決まったらお姉に連絡する。で、お姉は私が働いている時間にはちょっと人目を忍んでくれればいいわけ。
Oh damn, she's like 7 steps
わか
ahead.
る？
Guess I looked puzzled. It's not really that
つ
difficult
ま
to
り簡
grasp.
単。バイト中に私が何か咎められるようなことになったら、私がミオンだと言い張ればいいだけの話なんです。わかり？
Lying doesn't come that simple for me. I would be like, yes, I am my twin. How did you not know? Normal people wouldn't buy this kind of plan. But Kasai knows too well how easy it is for my sis and me to trade places.
つくづく大胆というか、
Shrewd.
悪知恵が働くというか。いやいや、脱帽です。
Tatsubo.
もちろん褒め言葉だよね、
Is that a
カサイ。
compliment? Kasai looked amazed. If things go south, it'll affect him too. Considering the rules of my dad's profession, he won't be able to get away with just a mere apology. That's why he doesn't want me to do anything too risky. I think I have to make it up to him since he helped me escape, even knowing that risk. So I feel like the original 8 visual novels, the first 4 question arcs and then the last 4 answer arcs, are really like realistic in the setting anyway. And then you've got the other shit where it's like, oh yeah, just throw Shion into it, you know, she's a character people like, just throw her in, you know, like screw all the backstory of like her getting in trouble for being seen around town, like have her talking to her grandma, or have her run into the classroom and threaten to kill fucking Satoko's uncle in that one scene. Just throw her in, you know. I really like the Sonozaki storyline behind Watanagashi-hen and MEAKASHI-HEN because it's a lot more realistic with these characters. Even without all the crazy shit that's, you know, going to happen very shortly, it's still pretty realistic.
シオンちゃんのことをどうのこうの言うやつがいたら俺が少し締めとくから。
Yoshiro.
やっぱ吉郎おじさんは頼りになります。おじさんならきっと助けてくれると思ってました。
You really saved me. Uncle Yoshiro pounded his chest with his fist after offering me his assurance. He seemed glad that I turned to him first.
いいんだよ。俺はシオンちゃんの自分の生活費は自分で稼ぎたいっていう気概に感心してるんだ。金をたかりに来たんだったら本家に突き出してるところだぜ。
Dear grandmother, what?
ああ、おじさん怖い。
God, her voice actress does such a good job on that. I knew he was reliable. He understood my situation straight away and promised to
店
help.
長、シフト表持ってきました。ここに置きますね。
Something about Angel Mort that I never understood was that they employed underage girls to dress like that. I mean, it's a little sketch, but if you think about it in the way that like she's his niece. Actually, no, that makes it worse. What? Hold on. Anyway, there are many things I'm unfamiliar with written on it.
で、シオンちゃんはどのくらい働けるんだい？
私とお姉の都合次第かな。できたら私の指定する日だけ入れるのが一番いいんですが。
おいおい、そんな虫のいいこと言うやつ面接じゃ会ったことないぜ。まあな、仕方ないもんな。
仕方がない。Can't be helped. I'm depending on Mion for my work. Our schedules have to match. Of course, Uncle Yoshiro understood that. But I also knew he couldn't afford a selfish part-timer who only works when she wants to. In the end, he decided to hire me as an office helper, not an official worker. As a temp, I wouldn't have a work schedule. My uncle also decided to pay me out of his own pocket.
体裁は構いません。生活費が稼げればそれで OK です。
じゃあ、そういうことで頼むぜ。
I have a feeling you're not gonna make enough to survive in an apartment in the city from a part-time job working like that. I guess that's where Kasai comes in. He's just backing her up with some
一
of
応
his
金を
money.
払うんだから仕事中はしっかり頼むぜ。あと事務所内じゃおじさんは勘弁な。
はいはい、分かってますよ。店長さん、ふつつか者ですけどよろしくお願いしますね。
こちらこそどうぞよろしく。
どうぞよろしく。Once all the business talk was over, my uncle hounded me with all kinds of questions. He asked me things like, what was it like in a prestigious girls' boarding school? And so on. Apparently there were all kinds of rumors going around about the St. Lucia Academy I was confined to, and everyone was curious about it. I added a few embellishments of my own as I explained how unordinary life at that school was. My uncle looked extremely delighted to hear all the little details about life in a secret garden for girls. Horny bastard. I mean, he literally, like, is the manager of Angel Mort, of all places. Once my uncle was satisfied, it was my turn to ask all kinds of questions. I wanted to know if anything peculiar had happened while I was gone. I won't be able to act like Mion unless I can fill in the gap of information left in the past 2 years.
そんなに大きく変わったことはないな。ダム戦争が終わってからこっちはもうそりゃのんびりしたもんさ。
That's a good thing.
私はダムの計画中止が発表されて少ししてから学園に行ったからな。
Okay, so she couldn't have been there for very long. Probably 2 years at most. And if this is a year before the actual show is, then I was wrong in the last one. They would be 11 instead of 12. Because she's 13 right now.
私がこっちにいた時はまだほんの少しピリピリしたムードが残ってましたよ。
中止発表の後の1年くらいは同盟も計画は凍結されただけで中止になったわけじゃないって言って翌年には解散式をやったよ。南沢の境内で大式典だった。それでダム戦争は本当に終わりだな。
じゃあ私が閉じ込められたすぐ後だ。
Nah, it's almost like they were celebrating her
戦
being...
争も終わっちゃってみんなふぬけちゃった感じ。
シオンちゃんなんかはダム戦争は戦争ごっこみたいで楽しかったんじゃないか。子供たちが警察のお世話になるたびに引き取りに行っていろいろいじめられた大人の身にもなってくれよ。
based.
まあ確かに否定はできないかな。私ら子供にとってはダム戦争はかなり遊べるイベントでしたし。
I want to know what stuff they did. The kids, anyway. I know what the adults are doing. Uncle Yoshiro seemed exasperated at how differently kids and adults treated the conflict.
そういえばバラバラ殺人なんて
Okay,
のがあ
wow,
りま
we're
した
just
よ
getting right
ね。
into it. Alright. Alright, fuck.
あのクソムカつく現場監督の野郎がバラバラにされたやつ。
She's 13, bro. Don't talk to your uncle like that.
あれ確か犯人がまだ全員捕まってなかったですよね。
Oh my god, this so oddly like goes hand in hand with what Jiro was saying. I think Jiro's his name, the photographer guy in Onikakushi. Ugh. They still haven't caught the all she has to say differently is they still haven't found one of the arms, have they? Oh man.
捕まったんですか？
Did they finally? That's what I'd be asking.
ああ、確か初犯がまだ捕まってねえんだよな。そうそう、確か捕まってないはず。
しかもひなみ沢の守り神お社様を祀る綿流しの番にね。
I can't remember exactly who it was that did it, but I know he was one of the Yamainu.
当時お社様のたたりだって騒がれたのを覚えてます。
He was the first death. And then I think his wife went missing or something like that. Memories are a little foggy right now.
あれ子供的には結構怖かったな。
ああ、お社様のたたりね。
It's still going
そ
on.
の翌年にも起きたんだよな。
そうそうあれも怖かったですね。何でしたっけ？ダムの賛成派の男が事故で死んだやつ。
Those were Satoko's parents,
北条
huh?
だっけ？
Yeah. This was before she met Satoshi, so she doesn't really give a shit about
しか
them.
もまたしてもお社様を祀る綿流しの日にこれはもうたたりしかありえないってずいぶん騒いだっけ？
So morbid.
あれは怖かったです。
You can tell like her uncle doesn't really want to talk about it. The construction manager that everyone hated was killed and dismembered on the night of the Watanagashi festival. That incident on its own was more than intense enough for us kids. Worse, part of his body was never found, which made it almost a ghost story among us. Among us. We seriously believed that the severed right arm was roaming in search of the body it belonged to. It didn't take long for the rumor of Oyashiro-sama's curse to become a topic of discussion among occult researchers and the like, considering the circumstantial factors. Even so, the rumor faded away after about a year. After the dam project was officially frozen, we held Watanagashi purely as a festival. But the curse struck again. The victim was a pro-dam activist who lived in Hinamizawa by the name of Hojo. He and his wife were on a trip when they fell from a cliff to their deaths. It was considered an accident. Technically, police were still searching for the wife's body. If I remember right, they never did find it, did they? Once again, the man most worthy of Oyashiro-sama's curse fell victim on the night of the Watanagashi festival. So the fuss over Oyashiro-sama's curse rose up again. Until then, Oyashiro-sama wasn't considered very important. At least in the world of us kids, it was just the name of the object of worship in the shrine, nothing more than that. I'd seen boys peeing on the archway, and I once stuck my hand into the offertory box. The existence of a god didn't matter much to us, but after 2 consecutive occurrences, the kids no longer doubted the existence of a curse. We were all shaking in fear of Oyashiro-sama. Everybody suddenly became interested in the old stories about him too. We quietly listened to the musty old stories the elders had to tell, and we started genuinely believing in the tales of Oyashiro-sama's miracles, which any of us would have laughed away before. Oyashiro-sama's rules were awfully simple and clear. Enemies treading into Hinamizawa will be cursed. Villagers leaving the village will be cursed. What defined the village was terribly vague. Were we never allowed to leave Hinamizawa village? Was going to Okonomiya still safe? Was a single step enough to be out? Was a 3-day, 2-night hot spring trip still safe? We kids tried to draw a line. It was decided in the end that if you had a house in Hinamizawa or Okonomiya, you were safe. And it was okay to go on trips if you had a house in either area. I think this is important. I know it's weird, but those rules were made up by kids after all. According to those rules, I'd be cursed, since I lived at a boarding school in such a remote area. I couldn't say it out loud because I felt embarrassed, but in fact I was a little scared of the curse.
でさ、その翌年にも起こったんだよな。
やっぱり2年連続ってのは結構きますよね。私は今でもお社様は信じてるな。
シオンちゃん、2年なんてもんじゃないよ。知らないの？
Oh no.
知らないですよ。何の話？
そっか。シオンちゃんはあれの直前に学園に行っちゃったんだもんな。
There were 2 more incidents.
知らないよな。
Uncle Yoshiro grimaced as if he'd said too much, as though he'd mentioned something I shouldn't know about.
何おじさん、そこまで話を振っておいて急に黙られると面白くないですよ。
まあ、シオンちゃんももう小さい子じゃないもんな。
おじさん、私を見てまだ小さい子供っていうのなら、眼科行くか回し蹴り食らうかのどちらかを選んでもらうことになるんですけど。
Better you're a peddler.
もう、わかったよ。別に隠しゃしないよ。
She's 13, I doubt she's that developed. But I've seen the anime, so fuck. Who knows?
あったんだよ。その後も。
Happened again the year
あ
after
ったっ
that.
て？
Ooh.
おじさん、さっきから何の話？
The curse. Tick. When I was very little, I always had this tick before I heard something bad. Ooh! Oh, that's creepy. It was like a gnome who lived inside me was giving me a warning. Like he was poking me with a small needle. When I felt this tick before my parents called me, they'd always either chide me or tell me something bad. It's like prophetic? What? Or was it just like her anxiety? Because she knew like something bad was gonna happen. With context clues. So I used to run away when I felt it. But my senses seem to have grown dull over the years. Even though my gnome poked at me, I just sat there.
実は賛成派の北条が転落事故で死んだ次の年にもな。つまりは去年なんだが、またあったんだよ。
Okay, so the dam war was 3 years before, not 2, so she was 10, not 11. Alright, I'm getting the timeline right.
あったって。また綿流しの日に3年連続でまた？
また？
そうなんだよ。ほら、ひなみ沢の神社あるよな。
神社 Shrine
古出神社。
古出神社。
あそこの神主が祭りの夜に突然ぽっくりいっちまってよ。
His wife went
聞い
missing.
た話じゃ原因不明の奇病で急死したとかしないとか。それもまたしても綿流しの夜に。
Or that.
で、かみさんもその晩のうちに沼に飛び込んじまって、村長たちが集まっててんやわんやの。
And those are Rika's parents. Whew. Satoko was an orphan before Rika was? Interesting.
うん。奇病ってのはおひれだと思うけどね。急死したってのは本当。神主さんは綿流しの準備で大変だったと思うし、あの急性心不全とかそういう感じのよくあるやつだったんだと私は思ってるけどね。
They're not premeditated, I don't think.
でも綿流しの日にってのが異常でしょ。それも3年連続で。普通に考えたら人の死がこうも同じ日に重なるなんてことは考えられない。警察も検視したみたいだけど、その後に特に騒がなかったってことは死因に不審な点はなかったってことじゃないの？まあでもシオンの言う通り、人の死が3年も続いて綿流しの日に重なるとやっぱり普通じゃないって思うね。それにさっきお姉も言った通り、お社様にたたられそうな人ばかり開始する。これは絶対に何かあります。たたりでも陰謀でも、とにかく絶対裏に何か因果関係がある。
Saying a lot of dangerous words. I decided to meet up with Mion at the library near the Yokinomiya train station. It's not that I don't trust Mion, but I don't want to let her know where I live. Not many people use this library, so I won't see anyone from Hinamizawa here. It's very convenient for meeting someone in secret. After we discussed my life plan and work schedule, we moved to small talk. I've been away from this town for years. Things have changed. I asked Mian about those changes in detail in order to fill in the gaps. While talking about various things, I brought up what Uncle Yoshiro had told me about Oyashiro-sama's curse. Even before I left town, the curse had already struck twice. The dismemberment murder in the first year left quite an impact. As it should. In the year after, the pro-dam activist couple fell off the cliff on the day the villagers were enjoying their first Watanagashi festival since the dam project was indefinitely frozen. This one also left quite the impact. The evil construction site manager was punished, and the next year the traitor to the village met the same fate. If it had happened only once, people would have concluded that it was just a bizarre coincidence. But when it happened 2 years in a row, people were far more likely to believe it was a curse. I know up to that part. And after I left town, the curse struck again for the third time. People talked about the curse more intensely than ever, both in Hinamizawa and Okinomiya. I have to rethink this. Oyashiro-sama's curse has drastically gained credibility while I was away. It was still unclear with the first two incidents, but after it continued for 3 years straight, people's doubts changed to convictions. Even though the priest who died on the third year wasn't an enemy of the villagers, the fact that people in Hinamizawa didn't care for him much added even more credibility to the idea.
神主は確か嫌われてませんでした？
Mion's new sprite.
同盟の役員から。
Oh, her mouth moves.
日和見主義なんじゃないかって叩かれてたね。戦争末期は同盟内でも過激な理論がまかり通ってたから。神主さんの穏健な態度はそういう人たちにとって気に食わないものだったと思うね。
The priest had looked strict and scary. The way he spoke was always so formal. But in reality, he was very warm and reserved. Maybe it was because he was a son-in-law, having married into his family. I'm sure the priest and his personality were the perfect fit for managing the shrine that was used for summer festivals and village meetings. But that gathering spot style atmosphere of the shrine changed completely when the dam war broke out, and it became the headquarters for the Onegafuchi Guardians. Prior to the dam protests, hardly anyone worshipped Oyashiro-sama. Of course, the devout elders paid worship to him, but the average person treated our god like how you'd treat fortune-telling. Once the dam protests began, Oyashiro-sama was suddenly hauled out as the symbol of our village's resistance. Tracing the Oyashiro-sama faith back to its roots, it was an exclusive, elitist faith that believed its members were descended from a holy ancestor, different from the masses at the foot of the mountain, and that those tainted masses should never come near the village. Of course, such self-centered ideology wasn't acceptable anymore in peaceful, post-war Japan. So, this doctrine was abandoned over time. Still, that idea remained, and they trudged it back up to fan the flames of nationalism and unite the town against the dam project. With the revival of those ideas, things only grew more radical by the day. And it didn't take very long for the Onegafuchi Guardians to become aggressive. After that, we were in a state of war. 100 million burning as one. Kill the white savages. Want naught but victory. Adults and kids both were gnawing at the bit, avid to repel the foreign invaders. Describing it like that makes it sound kinda awful, like a reminder of the dark times of wartime Japan. But like I said before, for us kids it felt less like a war and more like a village-wide festival. What do they mean by white invaders? I'm just gonna leave that out there. Yet despite calling it a festival, dissenters were treated coldly. Their heartlessness lived up to the expression wartime regime. The Hojo couple who voiced their oh, this is the Hojo house. It's in a different spot than it is in the anime. I can read that. Then on the second year of the curse, they died in an accident, and everyone believed it was Oyashiro-sama's curse without question. So they were branded traitors and enemies of the village. The Hojo couple faced worse than just being ostracized as traitors. Yeah, they're kids. Everyone gave them the cold shoulder and talked behind their backs. The only person who didn't treat them badly was the priest. Now, while the priest never objected to the anti-dam movement, he also never objected to the Hojo couple's advocacy for accepting the government's eviction and restitution to rebuild new lives. Those unforgivable Hojos became a slogan as the three families, especially the Sonozakis, united the village by turning them into scapegoats. So they must have found it very shameful to have a fellow member of the three families approve of that, especially when it was the priest, oh my gosh, of the shrine that had become a symbol for the damn protests. I keep misclicking on accident. As central figures in Hinamizawa, the three families were the backbones of the Yonegafuchi Guardians, so a difference of opinion was undesirable. And the priest was never accused of anything. But secretly, people whispered that he was a heretic, that he was unfit to serve as Oyashiro-sama's priest. That sounds kind of familiar. If you know, you know. That Oyashiro-sama's curse would soon strike him down, along with other rumors.
今にして考えると、神主さんって結構大人だったのかもねって思いません？
I mean, normal people would think that, yeah. He was pretty cool, managing to keep his head and remain neutral while everyone around him grew fervent. I thought Mion would share my opinion when I chimed back in. So when Mion gave me a forced smile and didn't agree with me, I was taken by surprise. Well, yeah, why would she?
本当に大人だったら、あそこは周りに合わせて強調すべきところだったと思うね。
Ooh, that doesn't sound like Mion. That's odd.
フルデのおじさんは単に神社の神主だっただけじゃなく、仮に
Oh,
も御三家の一
okay,
つ、
that does sound like
フル
Mion
デ
then
家の
now.
長だったんだ
Extra
からさ。
context.
南沢全体が結束しなくちゃならない時に模範となるべき御三家の人間が自分から輪を乱すのは、それが大人と呼べるかどうかは私には難しいな。
Yeah, she's definitely the responsible one. I was taken aback. I barely managed to say the following. ... Even though we're identical twins, we still had our own unique identities. Every now and then our opinions differed, but usually over some trivial matter. We've never had a difference of opinion this big. It wasn't an enjoyable feeling. I decided to
お
probe
姉
her
の
some
言う
more.
協調っていう言葉がなんだか好きじゃないんですけど、
Peace.
つまりそれって何？村全体を考えて神主さんは自分の考えを隠しているべきだったって、そういう話？
I mean, yeah, he'd still be
要する
alive.
に全体主義の中で個を主張するなと、そういう話？
Ooh. This is such a big thing between these two. The self and the whole. While Mion is definitely more for the whole and sacrificing for others, Shion is selfish. Oof. That's big.
別にそこまでは言わないけど、ただやっぱり御三家の長の一人なんだから、もう少し言動は慎重にしてもよかったんじゃないかって、
Yeah,
そういうことだよ。
okay. Alright, sure. Mion faltered a bit as my tone grew more like a cross-examination. I realized I was speaking a bit too harshly. What Mion expressed was probably the more mature opinion on our scale. When everyone needs to work together to stand up to a vast enemy like the government, people should refrain from actions that would destabilize that alliance. Writing it out and reading it now, I can understand that, but I wasn't mature enough to agree to such a totalitarian idea. Or maybe it wasn't me at all. It was Mion who'd made that mature judgment. We've been separated for over a year. I've been away from the town, and in the meantime Mion has been training to take over the headship of the Sonozaki family. She'd been treated as such even before I was confined to that institution. She sat next to the hag in ceremonies and in meetings. She took her place when the hag was absent, but that was just it. We were never that different. Mion has become very like a successor since I've been gone. It's almost like when a destabilizing force leaves someone's life, they grow from it.
お姉もいつの間にか大人になっちゃいましたね。やっぱり私もバッチャみたいな考え方になっちゃってきたかな。いいじゃないですか。
いいんじゃない。
お姉は次期当主なんだから、いつまでも下々と同じ考え方じゃまずいでしょ。
When you're having like a sister to sister like casual talk and then they start bringing up the family succession, that's when you know that things aren't chill anymore.
さすが帝王学を学んだだけのことはある。そんなの学んでないよ。どうやればバッチャの振りができるかって、それだけだよ。シオンにだって簡単にできるよ。
You can do that smug.
そんなのやりたくないです。ばあさんのおもりはミオンのお役目。ま、疲れない程度にほどほどに頑張りなさいませ。
I didn't mean to be cold, but Mion seemed to take it that way. She smiled as if trying to pacify me. I smiled gently back at her.
お姉
Tense, man. Awkward.
ミオ何確かに私たちの別離はいつも穏便じゃなかった。名前を引き離され、住まいを引き離され、そして体を引き離された時もいつもね。
Ooh. Mion looked down with a serious face, but then looked right
あん
back
たは
up.
私がそのあたりで逆恨みしてるんじゃないかって思ってるかもしれない。でもそれは誤解。
誤解?
そりゃ確かに確執はあったよ。でもそんなのは時間で流れる程度のもの。あんたが引け目を感じるようなことは何もない。
God, she is so manipulative. What the fuck? Up until birth, we were perfectly equal. Right after birth, we were separated by the grown-ups' priorities. I used to get mad about it when I was little. There's no denying that. But we don't have to start a disagreement over it. Mion seems to understand what I'm trying to say. We each have our own characteristics, even though we're identical twins. Only we know the differences. We're also dependent on each other because of them. Mion seems more dependent. She always worries about me. If somebody gave her a cookie, she'd divide it in two and give one half to me. If somebody gave her a candy, she'd wait until I said it was okay to eat it. And on the contrary, I'm cold. I don't care about others if I'm satisfied. I'd put the candy in my mouth right away. I have to emphasize that I don't hate her, and I'm well aware that she loves me. We both know that. Mion must have been hesitating to put the candy of the successor in her mouth and was waiting to see if I was okay with that.
頑張れ、ミオン。私もシオンを頑張る。
They have such a fucking complicated, like, relationship, though. It's way more than that. Tapped her forehead with my fist lightly. Mion put her forehead against my fist as if trying to feel the warmth. She's Mion, and I'm Shion. She's the successor of the Sonozaki family, and I'm just a vagabond. That isn't a distinction, but rather our individuality. We shouldn't worry too much about the other anymore. We should feel relaxed, living as who we are, with our own characteristics. I didn't have to say any of that out loud. We can communicate by touch, just like this.
ありがとう。シオン、頑張ろう、ミオン。困ったことがあったらいつでも相談して。私たちはいつだってそうやってきた。それはこれからも何も変わらないよ。
Mion kept nodding with her forehead against my fist. Wholesome. Let's see. Alright, nearing the hour mark, so I'm gonna go ahead and end it this time. This episode was crazy. I mean, Mion and Shion got together, they talked, and I have a feeling that Satoshi is gonna get brought up soon, and that is a wrench you don't want thrown in your plans, especially given... Well, I'm not gonna spoil it. But stay tuned for the next one. I'll see you all then. See ya.